Hey everybody.
Okay.
Hello from Rhode Island Comic Con 2023. I want to thank everybody in the room for attending the Mego Corp panel. I want to say hi to everybody out there on the Mego Corp Facebook ambassador page. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to just take a little time kind of just to talk Mego, have a good time, share some stories, and kind of see where this takes us today. But Rhode Island Comic Con, I want to thank you guys for all fighting that crowd to come up here and join us. That was that in itself was an adventure, I'd say, right? You know, I had these big signs kind of like parting the way. I had two of them, one in each hand, and it was kind of like a wedge, and we made it through. So we made it here safe and sound. Paul, first impressions of Rhode Island Comic Con 2023.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
We're back. I mean, everything's back. I think the cosplayers drive me crazy, but they really bring in the party atmosphere.
Right,
you know.
right, yeah.
But
What's the coolest one you think you've seen so far? Cosplay.
well, I saw some guy walking around inside a Pikachu outfit.
Right.
I'm like, you're devoted because you can't do any. You have to be led around. Somebody has to. But no, this is very cool.
Yeah, yeah. How do you drink or eat or exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
You got to have commitment.
Yeah, that is commitment.
Commitment to your art.
That is commitment. I think the coolest one I saw was a woman dressed as Ace Frehley from Kiss.
Yeah.
I mean, the outfit was amazing. I was like, oh my
Yes.
God, that is so cool.
I think the cape was a shower curtain.
You think so? I think it was too.
I think it was a clear.
But I think
shower
that was from
curtain.
like the Dynasty era Kiss.
Yes.
I think so.
Yes.
So yeah, that was really cool though. And I got a cool pic that I'll post online of her holding two Kiss Mego figures too.
Yep.
So that was pretty cool. So that was really cool. But it's been fun. Rhode Island Comic Con is always a great time. Lots of great fans come and see us, to see the celebrities. It's a great venue. So we still have half a Saturday left, and we have tomorrow left. So anybody out there watching, come on by. Come to Rhode Island Comic Con. Come see us. Our booth 1028. So
It's right by the restrooms. You
and
can't
the
miss it.
snack stand.
And the snack stand.
You know, how can you not
Good
like
location.
that? Exactly. A fantastic location. But a lot of great reactions to the product. We're thankful for that. A lot of cool stuff here.
Especially the 50th anniversary.
Oh yeah, the 50th. People are definitely digging on the 50th stuff that we brought. A lot of interest in the vintage stuff. You know that too.
Yep.
Always. People again telling us stories, picking up the vintage, the 50th anniversary stuff. I love the stories because they take me back. Oh, I remember getting this for Easter. I remember getting this for my birthday. I did well on a report card. My mom or dad took me to Kitty World or Children's Palace or whatever to buy this figure. So. For me, it's pretty cool to hear that kind of stuff. How about you, Paul?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sure that stuff takes you back too, right?
Yes, but
Yeah.
it's a lot of pain, suffering. I
Yeah.
remember my mother made me give them all away.
Yeah. I think a bunch of us have stories like
Whenever
that.
you talk to collectors, there's always that bittersweet, I didn't end the relationship. I had to give them up.
Right. Yeah.
My mother, somebody said to me, his grandparents, just before Christmas, would go through his room and
yeah.
throw out all his old toys to make ready
because his
for new
birthday
ones.
was close to Christmas.
Yeah, his
something
birthday was like
that,
the 20th. I go,
Yeah.
I know you're paying. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of us have those stories. I mean, for me, it was all of my action figures got lost in the move. So that was so that pain is what drives me to so exactly.
That's what makes a collector.
Right.
If you give it up on your own and move on to something else.
Yeah.
You might go, oh, I remember that, but
So what's your big phrase you always say when you come to that?
what?
You always say you're not the one ending.
Yeah, you don't end the relationship. So
Right.
it's an emotional hole in
Yeah.
in
Right.
your psyche
Yeah.
that drives you to go back and pay $200 for a Mego Batcave.
Yeah, right. But yeah, the 50th stuff, I mean, I'm enjoying it. The collectors, the fans are really enjoying it. They look great. They definitely have that vintage feel to them. I mean, even the new characters that you've added, like Reverse Flash, Green Lantern,
Flash.
the Flash, yeah, they all look great. They fit right in with the originals. They fit well with the 50th, so
That's the point.
it's really cool to see.
And it's like it's always tempting to overdo them. To make them look
More modern,
more
I guess.
modern,
Right, right.
and you like
it's like
have
it's
to-
like a fine balance you got to hit.
Well, I always look at it as Mego sculpting 1976.
Right.
That was when they did Fantastic Four, Thor, and Conan.
Right,
That was
right.
the pinnacle of their sculpting.
Gotcha.
Custom accessories for everybody. It was accurate, comic accurate looks, as opposed to Captain America, who was the beginning of production.
Right.
Who only got blue sleeves.
Oh, yeah,
Instead
yeah,
of blue
yeah.
and white.
Well, you can kind of see that progression from when Mego first started in '72 74, Type 2 bodies, and then you saw like with the stuff from 74, 76, with the additional accessories, things like that. And what I think is cool is that the Flash and Green Lantern and even the Reverse Flash, those head sculpts remind you so much of those Thors and the Conans and the Reed Richards.
Yes,
Do you know what I mean? As far as that look.
Because our sculptor, Andy Cavolt, sits with a Reed Richards in front of him.
Right.
And a Thor. You know, he knows what he has to hit.
Yeah.
Also, Andy's great. I can say to him, do a Neil Adams Green Lantern. He actually gave us 2 choices with that. He gave us a Gil Kane Green Lantern sculpt and a Neil Adams. We went with the Neil Adams, but I might one day do the Gil Kane.
Hey, there's a variant for you.
There's a variant.
Come on now. You know, why not?
Speaking of variants.
Yeah, speaking of variants, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But so 50th anniversary, we know what 11 characters done so far, 12, something like that. Where are we at? I think 11 so far.
No, well, let's see.
Batman, Robin, Superman. Yep. Flash, Green Lantern.
Shazam, Aquaman.
Yep, Aquaman, Green Arrow. And then the 4 supervillains.
And that puts us at 12.
At 12, okay. Yeah. And then, not sure if you guys out there in the crowd know or are aware of. I'm sure everybody out there watching on Facebook is aware. Wave 18 with the next wave of 50th anniversary heroes will be hitting first quarter of next year, right around. I think the target date's around February. But there's some exciting figures in that lineup too, right?
Yeah. Dr. Fate. Red Tornado.
Deadman. Nightwing. Firestorm, right?
Yes.
Bizarro.
Yeah.
Brainiac.
A 60s, classic Brainiac.
And Two-Face, which I got to say personally, when I was at Toy Fair, I was really looking forward to seeing Red Tornado. They all look great. Red Tornado was my favorite of the next wave. Two-Face.
Yes, well,
I mean,
Two-Face just so cries out to me.
I've seen some people online, Two-Face, it doesn't look this way or that way. I'm going to tell you in person, the thing is awesome. I mean, the sculpt is great.
Well, I'll tell you. Story. When it said on the ambassadors group, it said, well, but that's not what his outfit should be. And I said, well, if you look at Batman 313, he is wearing purple on one side and plaid on the other.
Right.
But the artwork we got from the style guide has tan on one side and a purple plaid on the other.
Okay.
Now, plaid is something you got to be tricky about.
It's tough in that scale too, right?
In an 8-inch scale, you can't use human plaid. It would look ridiculous.
Right.
So we have to find a very small pattern. So, my boss Joel said, well, it should look like what's on the back of the box. And I went, okay, so we can use a purple houndstooth.
Right.
It'll give you that plaid pattern and look small enough. So before the factory's gone to production, we had them change his costume to tan on one side and a purple houndstooth for the plaid on the other.
Gotcha.
So the Two Faces in production will be different from what you saw in the prototype.
Okay, and then even different that what was shown at Toy Fair.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah,
very cool.
Shown at Toy Fair was the prototype.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think the head sculpt on that is amazing. It looks great.
It's Andy Cavolt.
Andy Cavolt again.
And
he's like he's Mego's go-to guy for superheroes.
Andy and I have been working together for 20 years.
Okay.
He's the trifecta.
Gotcha.
He's good, he's fast, and he's cheap.
Yeah.
They always say, you can have you can have two or three things.
Right.
Yeah, but
the Firestorm head sculpt looks great too.
Absolutely, and Andy is a guy who I can say, I need this in 2 days.
Yeah.
And I get it.
Wow.
And he went from physical sculpting to digital sculpting.
Yeah.
Seamlessly.
Wow.
So, and it makes it so much easier with a digital sculpt. The factory can adjust the sizes.
Okay.
They can send me a casting on a body, and I can say, well, that head still looks big.
Right.
So we resize it.
Explain to everybody out there now. What do you mean by it's easier for them to versus the digital versus
a physical sculpt is a guy sitting there with wax, actually has to sculpt the head.
And that's how Mego did it back in the 70s.
That's how everybody did it.
Right.
And then you make a casting of that in resin or wax. You make a casting.
Right.
The factory then, the process of making the tool.
Right.
you lose about 5%.
Okay.
All right?
Yep.
There's shrinkage.
Gotcha.
So the sculptor has to work at 105% to account
allow
for
for that shrinkage,
Yeah,
right, right.
so that when it comes out the other side. Now, when you work with a factory for years, they get it. They start to realize,
Right.
hey, like for the 50th anniversary,
Yeah.
I sent them original Bruce Wayne head,
Okay.
an original Superman, and I sent all original parts,
Right.
and said, this is 100%. When it comes out the other end, it still has to be 100%.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Not 95.
Right,
So,
right.
they understand it.
Okay.
But in the meantime, it's so much easier to be able to just send over files, OBJ files,
Right. Right.
for things to be tooled instead of having to send physical cash.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
If God forbid a package got lost
Right.
going to China,
Yep.
you'd have to be able to
Or
replicate it all.
something, as easy as something falls on the floor and drops and breaks. You know what I mean?
Big, yeah. So I can give now.
Crazier things have happened.
So I start working with digital sculptors, and Andy said, "Oh, I guess I should learn digital sculpting."
Yep. Yep.
And turned around and just started saying, "Okay,
Yeah.
I'm doing digital now.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Same quality, same,
Okay.
great
Okay.
looks, and we can. In fact, it was started because of the 14-inch.
Gotcha.
We were like, well, we want to take this from 8-inch to 14-inch, or
Right.
maybe 3 3/4, or maybe anything else we want to do.
Got you. Got you.
And digital, you can
Yeah.
work any size.
And Andy picked that up real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And other sculptors.
Oh
too.
yeah, Tyler.
But,
Shout out to Tyler Ham. He's probably watching.
Yes, he's
Yep,
another of our
yep.
digital sculptors,
Yep,
and
so.
James Brady.
Oh yeah. Okay.
James
okay.
Brady, who's the only wants to do Star Trek, but
He does it well.
he's
does
awesome.
it
He
well.
did the Andorian Ambassador.
Yeah. And I got to tell you that the Firestorm outfit just pops too. That outfit.
That was
it's-
Brian Leitner.
It looks great.
And then we had, but Brian actually does it all by hand.
Okay. Okay.
But now I had to go to Andy Mangels and
Yeah.
ask him to do a silk screen suit
Gotcha.
that the factory could reproduce.
Okay.
Okay. So that's all it sounds crazy, but
Right. Right. That's what goes into making these. Making the Mego figures.
It's how the sausage is made, and
It's a secret recipe. So yeah, I think they look great. I mean, I think Red Tornado is a favorite of mine. Two-Face looks great in person.
Well, kind of following the superpowers.
Yeah. Yeah. There
When
you go.
superpowers extended,
Right.
they did the first wave, your classic guys.
Yep. Yep.
Hawkman is in development,
Hawkman. Okay.
but I purposely have pushed him back
Got you.
to be sure that we have time
Okay.
to work out the wings so that they work.
That's kind of a reveal, right?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
a
There you go. Everybody out there on Facebook. There you go. Wave Mean first
Yeah.
figure is going to be Hawkman.
Well,
so.
if everything
fingers
works
crossed.
out,
So,
see,
There you go. That's awesome. That's awesome. So as far as Wave 18, we're looking first quarter of next year. Then you're talking about Wave 19. I mean, do you see this continuing, or how?
as long as you guys want to buy them.
Okay.
The problem is, as you get away from your big guns,
Right.
you start to drop off.
Okay.
Interest. So, I say we should keep doing variations on Superman and Batman
That takes us to something.
to keep
Yep.
sales up, but it still really comes down to, will the fans support
Right.
the line?
Gotcha.
And if it gets down to we're doing the 80s Blue Beetle and Booster Gold,
Right.
but
Hey, there's some 80s Blue Beater and Booster Gold
I have
fans
no
out there.
problem.
You know what I mean?
I have no
Miracle
problem doing
Man. Some other ones.
But the truth is, the DC movies lately have not done that well.
Right.
McFarlane rushed out with a lot of, merchandise, and so did Spin Masters.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Mego kind of, I prototyped everything, but then we sat back and went, the movies didn't really do what they were supposed to.
Right.
And we don't see a lot of retailer interest.
I think that may have something to do with just across the board with like superhero movies in general, maybe kind of being oversaturated a little bit. Wow, that's a whole other conversation.
It's like saying Westerns.
We won't go down that. We don't go down that route.
Yeah, we've now
But,
become a separate genre.
I think they look great. I think everybody, we're digging the 50th anniversary. Wave 19, talking about that now. That's exciting stuff. Now you did talk about variants. The key characters in DC Comics, right? Batman, Superman, Robin,
Yeah.
Joker, and you were talking about variants. And so there are some variants out there hitting now.
You mean like Big Lots?
Like Big Lots, right? I don't know if you guys are aware of that. There are actually
Yeah.
4 variant figures hitting Big Lots stores now.
Yeah, just hitting. I
Right.
mean, it literally.
Literally.
We got a phone
This
call
week, it seems like, or last weekend, right.
Like a week or so ago, saying, "Okay, yeah, sorry,
I want to ask a quick question.
all right,"
I never saw a shadow figure.
because that's a whole separate license. You have to license it through Smith and
And
street.
the gentleman was asking why we haven't seen a shadow figure in Paul.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yep.
I mean, it's a matter of on the list of, wow, you should do Lone Ranger. You should do, you know, Duck Savage. And it's like, how much interest is there?
Well, I think like what comes down to that, I mean, Shadow's a cool figure, but it's like big picture overall. You kind of got to think like what out there would do better in the marketplace. You could kind of think in a business sense too. Would it be better to do like a Batman variant or something like a Shadow? What do you think would do better? And that's stuff. And not saying we're not Shadow fans, but it just plays into that decision as far as what retailers are interested in taking. You know, what your e-tailers are interested in taking. Can you move that many pieces of a certain figure? And it really, I don't want to say it's unfortunate, but that's where you flip over to like the business side of things to kind of figure out what the fans want, but also what'll do well too. So it's kind of like a tricky
I mean,
tricky situation.
I'll tell you this. When Diamond came to us and said, we want to do Batman Beyond, Deathstroke,
Red Hood.
Flashpoint Batman, Red Hood,
Yep.
and Red Sun Superman,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if Batman Beyond had a big enough fan base. It was one I'd always wanted to do Red Sun
Yeah.
Superman, but that was kind of very comic booky, niche-y.
Yep.
You know, yet McFarlane's going deep into variant versions of
With
a
his
lot of
superpowers
superheroes.
line especially.
And his 7-inch also.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
yeah, he's doing
I
some
mean,
really,
listen,
really like back of the
Yeah.
page characters.
Yeah,
yeah.
and you know, I would love to go long and deep into a lot of characters, but the sales have to be there. I can't wait. You know, we can't waste Marty's money.
Well, it's a different kind of atmosphere, a different world we live in nowadays too. So the business plans are different, that sort of stuff too.
So when you get a distributor like Diamond that says we will take the run, well, that's great. Then we can do it. You know,
yeah.
you want to take 10,000?
Right.
Want me to put you on?
But to circle back to the Big Lots thing, the Big Lots figures are hitting stores now.
Yes.
From kind of what I'm seeing online, where people posting pictures, it seems like they started hitting on the West Coast first. They're making their way through like the Midwest. Now they're kind of like it seems like if you follow that,
Yeah.
not saying that this is going to happen, but it seems like next week, the week after, they should start hitting in the Northeast and that sort of stuff.
Look, I got one Big Lots near me
Yeah.
in Long Island,
Right.
and I know there's 20 other guys who are trolling the area.
You're right,
You know,
right.
same like Walmart. I
Yeah.
knew I never had a chance to get the 50th
Yeah.
anniversary at Walmart until one of the guys emailed me and said, I just saw them this morning.
Right.
Go, I left you 2 of each.
Okay.
Otherwise, I wouldn't have gotten anything.
So let's just talk about the Big Lots a little bit.
Yeah.
How's the Batman different than the
Well,
regular 50th anniversary
Okay,
edition? Paul?
so this was, we have no time to do new tooling. Got to get this done. I said, all right, what if Mego had paid more attention to, when they did Batman in the start, what if they paid more attention to the details from the TV show? Because back then, the TV show was, it was on syndication, everybody knew about
Every
it.
day after school was on.
Right,
Yeah.
every day after school. So, you could get some decent pictures. And back then, there was no separate property for the TV show from the regular Batman.
Okay.
DC, as a rule, kind of gave you, if you said we want to make Batman, they gave you Carmen Infantino's 60s artwork, which looked like the TV show, which
Right.
is what the TV show used as a model, what they call the new look.
Okay.
So, what if Mego had done a little more detail,
Right.
closer to the TV show? So that's what I did. I put the lines from the, I made it a darker blue, because I couldn't hit that midnight blue that the TV show had,
Okay.
which actually looked black on my cheap ass TV, but when I saw it in black and white. But
Right.
but the lines in there, the emblem from the TV show. Years ago, for many years, the licensing rights to the TV show were all tied up between Fox and Warner Brothers, and nobody could do anything. Well, that dam broke.
Okay.
So now, we could do that. So what you have is he's still got the oven mitts, but he's a darker blue, and he's got the TV show emblem, and the belt is like the TV show, and the details in the cowl, and it's not actually an Adam West Batman, but
It's almost like a what if Mego
what
did it,
Mego would have
done,
made
right?
if they, and Robin would put the stitching on the front.
Okay.
We did give Robin hands
Versus the oven.
versus the oven mitts, so Robin at least can hold on to the bat rope.
Right.
Batman, you'll just have to snake it around his
Yeah. Right.
or cut
Okay.
the oven mitts and just customize it. You can,
And then you have the Joker, right?
which was, I couldn't really do much. I couldn't do a Cesar Romero head.
Okay.
I had no time for that. So I gave him purple hands, which DC doesn't really like.
Right.
Because they want Joker to have white hands.
Okay.
I'm going through the style guide going, I know Joker has purple hands.
Right.
And yet every comic cover, he now has white hands.
Okay. But on the Batman, the TV show, he was always wearing the purple gloves too. It seemed
Right.
like.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But so
Might have been green gloves.
I mean, Mego did such a great job in the Joker.
Oh yeah, he was great.
I mean, the only
Still-
different thing would have been different if I could have done magenta instead
Right,
of purple.
right. Yeah, I
but I
got you.
like purple better.
I'm really digging the Superman variant.
Superman
that one
was-
looks great. I think it's my favorite out of the four.
The 1941 Fleischer cartoon
The different emblem, right?
is a different emblem.
Yep.
We did actually a darker blue
I noticed that.
than
Yep.
the 50th.
Okay.
But but basically, you can't mess up Superman. Oh, it is a red belt with a yellow buckle.
Right. Yeah. No, it looks good.
Yeah.
And those are hitting Big Lot stores as we speak.
Yes, in the
So-
front of the store.
In the front of
they're
the
supposed
store,
to
in
be.
like the holiday featured section.
Yes.
So if you haven't found them yet,
if you have low
looking.
population in your state, go get them.
right? Yeah. So I know on the Facebook ambassador page, I know people are kind of like pulling together, and if they find them, they're offering them up to other people on the Facebook ambassador page, which I think is great. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. So 50th anniversary is interesting. I'm loving the 50th anniversary, world's greatest superheroes. So 50th anniversary for next year, isn't it something else going on or something?
Oh, Star Trek.
Star Trek. There you go. What? Yeah.
This is the funny thing. When people at Paramount saw the 50th anniversary DC, they were like, "Oh, this is so cool. This looks just like it was,
Right.
back in the day." And I go, "Funny you should ask that. We should have brought McCoy."
Yeah. Yep.
I said, "I want to do the original Star Trek figures in the original 5 heads on the back,
Right.
art by Gray Morrow, that Mego did in 1975."
And just for everybody out there, it's the first card is different than the one because the second like the second series of Trek figures that was Uhura.
They added her.
Added
as
her, and the
sixth
back
figure.
of the card was different with the picture of the playset.
Well, they've been
yeah. So what does the back of the 5-face card look like?
is the 5 bigger versions of the 5 heads
Okay.
that were from the front.
Gotcha.
So that will be in Walmart
Okay.
next year, at some point.
So yeah. Okay. Now, at that point, I mean, it's not maybe early, but are you thinking those are going to be offered to all e-tailers and things like that as you go down the road
Should
at this
be.
point? Yeah.
I-
Okay.
That's
great. I think
I'm
they're
just
going
the
to.
guy
I
that
think they'll
makes
do
the,
really
the
well.
little doll clothes. And,
Well,
yeah.
tell me about the little doll clothes with the Star Trek figures. You were telling me little things about how you're trying to get the shirts exactly with the
trick is this.
fabric and that kind of stuff.
When you're doing the 50th anniversary, I send the originals to the factory, and I go, we have to hit this material.
Right.
Mego back in the day, Marty's mother, Madeline, who was Maddie Mod, who actually did the sourcing on the costumes, did the patterns. And she had friends that were in the women's sportswear. And so they would get bolts of material, that was used in women's sportswear. So the Star Trek, Mego Star Trek uniforms have a kind of ribbing, a very subtle ribbing. It's not just spandex.
Right.
It's a cotton poly blend. So I send that to the factory and say, listen, we really have to nail the color. We have to nail the look. It's not just putting out the same thing again.
Right.
I said, we got to send the original sculpts and have them tooled again. We're not just going to take the sculpts we used in 2018 for Target.
Okay.
The idea is you really have to put something in to make it look just like.
You want them to hit that same mark that the
Same
50th
mark. You
world's
want to
greatest.
walk,
You know what I
people
mean?
walk into Walmart and see
Right.
them hang on the pegs and just
Yep.
get that miniature time machine moment.
Well, here's a really quick story for you. This is how warped my brain is. It was probably 1976, 1977. I remember going into Kitty World and seeing the Star Trek end cap with all this, with all the crew, but then there were the aliens on the end cap too. That was the one and only time I saw the aliens. Of course, I didn't get them, so that created a whole nother psychosis in my brain. So it's I had to have those things. So I have them now, but that still sticks out of my head. That end cap, it just popped.
See a therapist.
I know. Well, I'm friends with the doctor, so I'm good, right? Yeah. But
Trust me, I'm a doctor.
that's great, man. I mean, if you can hit that same mark, get them as close.
Just, and And the funny thing is, you might have heard we're doing Marvel.
What?
Yeah, I hear it's a rumor.
What's in front there?
But the people at Marvel saw the 50th anniversary DC and said, this is so cool. This is what we want to see. And so we're like, we can do whatever you like. You tell us how you want to do it.
How cool is that? I can't wait to see a 50th anniversary Mego Spider-Man. I mean, that's going to be so cool.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So at this point, any other details you can add about the
Nothing.
Marvel
I can't
thing,
answer.
or just
I can't. In fact, I have to disavow everything.
Yeah.
You know, tomorrow I'll be found in an alley. Yeah.
Yeah, right. That's exciting stuff, though.
so
So
much.
we've got another wave of 50th anniversary figures coming from DC. We've got 50th anniversary Trek figures. Then we've got Marvel on the horizon. So that's really, I mean, that's exciting times, right?
It's future's so bright. I gotta wear shades.
I mean, back when you were doing the MC Toys thing, can you ever imagine?
Yes.
I'm sure you did imagine. That's why
Marty says
that's
to
why
me,
we're here,
he goes,
right?
He goes.
Yeah.
Marty says to me, he goes, "Do you ever think we'd be here?" I go, "Yes."
Paul
I know
Clarke, if
this
anybody
day has been
doesn't
coming.
know, Paul Clarke kept the Mego torch burning, along with things like the Mego Museum and stuff like that. But Paul was up; he was bothering. I don't want to say bothering Marty, but he was having continuous
pestering.
conversations with Marty, right?
Yep. Would you bring back Mego? Could you bring back Mego? Could you bring? He said, "Why don't you go get a license like Star Trek and then come talk to me?"
Yeah.
Okay. Here.
And you did.
I made Star Trek figures.
Right.
Went to Marty's house, brought in the Diamond Selects MC Toys Star Trek figures.
Yep.
And he took out the Endorian and he looked and he goes, "Boy, you really nailed it. I swear this came out of my factory." And I was like,
awesome.
"I'm good.
That's awesome.
I'm touchdown.
These figures look great,
My
too.
life now has
Yeah.
purpose." And he said, "All right, you showed me you're not full of it. What do you want?" I go, "Superheroes, Marvel,
Right.
DC."
Yep.
That's and that's how the Mattel Retro Action came out.
Gotcha.
Was all Marty, and now I don't have. It's not Mattel. It's
Right.
Mego
Yep.
making Megos. It's all the blinders, all the brakes have been taken off, all the restrictions, and it's Marty making Megos.
There you go.
So
That's fantastic.
this is the realization of the dream
Right.
I've had for
Right.
25 years.
That's awesome. Before we get into questions, just a little off topic from the figures. I just want to mention that at Toy Fair this year, the rebirth or the 2XL came back to see it. So
Yeah.
that's really huge. And in the
2XL
working.
is not 8-tracks
Nope.
anymore. It's a AI robot that will be in, I believe it's going to show up in some places for Christmas.
Okay.
But who knows?
Still early on, but the response from the buyers at Toy Fair,
Yeah.
I mean, the table was mobbed. People just were loving this thing. So stay tuned on that. More to come on that. So
And it speaks like 40 languages.
so that's pretty cool too. So that's another harkens back to Mego's heyday. So
Yeah.
what's old is new. It comes full circle, man. So that's great.
So get ready for Magnadoodle.
Yeah, right.
And we're doing Sky Dancers
Yeah,
and
yep.
Flying Heroes. And,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So really cool stuff out there. So I do want to open it up for a few minutes. If you guys have any questions, we can field a few questions. So yes, sir, down here. The artwork on the posters up front?
Yes.
Actually, I'll let Paul talk to the artwork, but they're actually posters that Rhode Island Comic Con, Dave Campbell lets us use for the Rhode Island Comic Con. But it's the Mego artwork, right?
Yes, yeah. In fact, that was the funny thing. When meeting with DC and saying we want to do just this images, what you see here, the Superman on the back, they went, "Yeah, we don't know where that artwork came from. We can't okay it because we don't know who drew that. It looks like a Kurt Swan Superman, but it's not."
Right.
And I said, "Well, I can tell you. There was a Mego employee named Michael Lincoln who took, in the old days, you didn't have digital files. They would send you a black and white image of a pose, and then you'd light box it to make, to redraw it. So Michael Lincoln, it's really a Kurt Swan as drawn by Michael Lincoln.
Okay.
So they were like, and I said, he's an Mego employee, so this is Mego's Superman. And they said, all right, great, that explains it. You can use it.
Okay.
And same with Batman and all of them, Okay, so now we understand. So when going to Marvel, talking to Marvel, they're like, where does that Spider-Man come from? And I go, aha. I said, that comes from, I think, the Rock album from 1971, drawn by John Romita.
Okay.
But altered to fit the box.
Right.
To where the comic, his arm's out, the web. It's the only place I've ever seen where there's a white circle for the web shooter. And I've gone through every issue of Spider-Man from Amazing Fantasy 15 to sometime around 120, because by that point Mego was out. So, and I looked at it, and John Romita really was the de facto art director in 1971, 72, when Mego was working on this. And the Rock comic had come out, and I have the poster of it in my house. And I'm looking at it, I'm looking at the Spider-Man box, and I go, I think where the legs on the Rock comic were folded, this guy drew them long to fit the box.
Gotcha.
And I'm looking at him going, I think that's the same kind of shape. And of course, it's not a Romita Spider-Man because nobody can do a Romita Spider-Man.
Right.
So I think that's where it comes from. But the incredible thing is the Mego Museum has identified what comic the lizard came from.
Oh, very cool.
Which was actually Spider-Man 44, and the lizard was on his side.
Okay.
And yet that's the image they used.
Oh, wow.
And like tilted him up, and I'm amazed that they didn't just give him the Ditko
Right.
Spider-Man Annual 1 lizard pinup.
Yeah.
But they seem to avoid it, as Marvel in the 70s seemed to avoid Ditko references more and went more with Romita, who actually really went up forward and did all of their characters in a very style guide look.
Okay.
Those wacky stickers
Right. Oh,
that they put out with the goofy little sayings,
Right.
that literally is a style guide.
Okay.
All the characters in a pose that's identifiable for all the elements.
Well, I think that's that's what makes the 50th anniversary figure so great. You're able to use the original artwork.
Yes.
And that's going to be the same case with the Star Trek stuff you're talking about?
Absolutely.
That's
Yep.
great. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay.
In fact, what I'm next kind of pushing for is to be able to do the Aliens package.
There you go. Okay.
Which has such a cool look.
It does.
Where they did a painting. And
Right.
I was like, but that's another story.
That's TBD, right?
Yeah.
There you go. Other questions? Anybody else? All right, let me throw this out.
Do you have any more information on that 2XL you're talking about?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Do you have any more information on that 2XL?
More information on 2XL.
Not yet.
Yeah.
But we're it's at the stage now where they're preparing promotional videos. It's a big launch.
I would
I'll know when it happens.
Yes,
Oh,
you
yeah.
will. Just stay
Yeah.
tuned to Mego Corp socials on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. If I'm not mistaken, we're going to launch a whole just branding thing with 2XL as well. So you will know for sure.
What should I follow?
Mego Corp on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Mego Ambassadors.
Mego Ambassadors on Facebook. And there's also, if I'm not mistaken, there's going to be a whole campaign just around 2XL or something like that.
Probably.
Yeah. But just stay tuned to those channels. And
I just sold a little doll clothes.
Yeah. Right.
I sit in the office sewing costumes, and
Yeah.
they go, "What are you doing?" I go, well, "How do you think this stuff gets made?"
Yeah.
Unless I get somebody else to send it to.
Question down here.
Yeah. I can't remember where it was. Did Mego also do the Planet of the Apes?
Planet of the Apes
Yeah.
by Mego? Oh, yes.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, Fox is working on 3 new Planet of the Apes movies, and they will be wearing clothes. The complaint they got on the trilogy they just did, Dawn, Rise, and War,
Right.
was that they're just CGI, and it's apes, and it's and they said, we think that it's going to be like 100 years later, and then they're going to be in clothes and talking normally, more like the original series. So Fox didn't want us to put out apes again for a 50th Mego anniversary. We also had just done the Planet of the Apes, and it was just seemed like it wasn't worth, doing them again. Just putting them out again in
Right.
different packaging.
So if you want to stop by the Mego booth, we're at 1028. We've got a whole display of vintage Planet of the Apes available, new Planet of the Apes, if you want to come down and check them out. So 1028, yeah, yep.
Against the wall.
They actually released yesterday.
The trailer for Kingdom.
Oh,
yeah,
did they?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, it looks pretty good. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Other questions?
Suppose what would happen if there were Mego toys of Mickey Mouse and friends and maybe the Muppets?
Okay, so that would be like a whole different body type.
Right.
It wouldn't be, because I mean,
Wouldn't be your standard 8-inch.
yeah, if Mego did
The
a
question
Mickey
from
Mouse-
was
yeah.
asking about possibility of Mickey Mouse and characters like the Muppets.
And so, I mean, if you did, I mean, yeah, you could do a Mickey Mouse Mego. You know, it might kind of look more like the guys in Times Square.
Yeah, or the
A guy in a Mickey Mouse costume.
Yeah, right. This is the time. This is the Times Square edition. You know what I mean?
It would be,
Yeah.
if, you know,
Yeah.
they tell us, start making Mickey Mouse. Like, okay, hey, Andy, start sculpting a Mickey Mouse.
Right.
But I'd rather do it on a different body that really takes advantage of the style
Right.
of cartoon, like a Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
You know, if you did
Right,
Bugs
right.
Bunny in a Mego body,
It's gonna look a little buff.
he'd look like a guy in a muscle, in a muscle suit. You know?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yes, sir. Right here.
What characters are worth the most value of the original figures in the original box?
So the question from the crowd was, what Mego figures are the most valuable? I guess in today's.
Well, depends.
Aftermarket?
I mean, look,
Aftermarket?
I mean,
Really, I would say whatever, to me personally, your favorite Mego growing up as a child, that should be your most valuable Mego figure. You know what I mean? For me, it's Aquaman. But I'll divert to Paul. I mean, I can tell you too, but go
a
ahead.
carded Green Goblin
There you go.
just
Sold at
apparently
the
sold for
Hakes, right?
$76,000.
Right, yeah.
Because most of the production for Green Goblin and Iron Man were done in the boxes. There were carded figures done, like the carded Falcons are around, you know.
Right.
Carded Hulks were on a wall of Toys R Us,
Yep,
you know.
yep.
But it's hard to come by. I always have trouble with the idea of the packaging making it really valuable.
It does. Yeah.
To me, the most valuable Megos were like the Andorian and the Romulan,
Right.
the Megatu and the Telosian, that not many
Or
exist.
maybe like a circle suit Spider-Man,
Well,
maybe.
yeah,
Yeah,
but even
something
those
like that. Yeah.
pop up more than, you know.
Oh yeah, the carded examples.
Yeah, but I'm saying, you know, the Romulan was this amazing figure that just was never able to be found. So back in the 80s, I went to a store on Long Island and somebody had him as like $500. And everybody went, "You're crazy." Well, now that looks like a good deal.
Right. Yeah.
Of course, it's been 40 years.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
So when Mego came back, I definitely wanted to do the Romulan. You know, we did them for Target, and I mean, you know,
I mean,
made
he's
the-
as close to the original as you can get without having an original, in my opinion.
I did my best.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah,
mean, that
so-
to me, you know, so those I think are really the most valuable. You know,
Yes,
Sorry.
sir. Right here.
Was it just a matter of sales fell off, is why there weren't so many made? What,
I don't. I
The
tell
question,
you, yeah.
the question was as far as the Romulan, the scarcity, I guess, or in the value.
You know, before the internet, guys were saying that there was a warehouse fire on Long Island.
It's like an urban, or what, a Mego
Well,
urban
but
myth.
we researched it, and Mego had a warehouse in Bohemia, which is Suffolk County, and that building's still there. They never had a fire. You know, the nice thing about the Mego Museum is you got grown men that will then go research. Was there a fire? You know, was there, you know, through the 70s looking for a warehouse fire, and there never was one. So apparently most of them just went to discount.
I think the same thing that holds true today. I think people want your core characters, your Kirk, your Spock.
Right.
You know
As
what
you
I mean?
get away, yeah.
Yeah.
Mego definitely went back into production for Kirk and Spock before the motion picture.
Right.
But, you know, and so there was like a run that kept showing up for a long time. Same store in Long Island, Creation, used to have literally a box, a comic box, with just Kirk and Spock's for $20.
I even remember seeing them in the toy shop magazines for sale too.
Yes.
Yeah, back
Yeah.
in the 80s.
what
Yep.
was the estimated initial run of units?
Well, initial, I've actually researched it, and Mego's production on World's Greatest Superheroes was 500,000 pieces a year. And that went on for like 7 or 8 years, at least, you know. So there were literally 4 million Spider-Man, Captain Americas, which stayed in production the whole time. You know, Superman and Batman stayed in production. You know, so they
The original Star Trek run,
original, yeah,
same numbers?
probably close to it. I mean, you know, the scary thing is that Marty still has every number in his head, but there's some stuff even he can't really tell me, but he'll tell me an answer anyway. If I say to him, so how many Star Trek did you make the first year? He'll go, 6 million. I go, really? He goes, what do you want?
Yeah, right, right.
You know,
But we got time for one more question. Down here, yes, sir.
Was there more boxed or carded figures made?
What, the question from the crowd was, were more boxed or carded figures released?
well, they switched over from boxes to cards around 1975. So 75 to 82. So I'd say there probably was more carded. It was more common. Retailers liked the card because you could hang it on a tag, you know, on a peg. So, you know, I'd say probably if you did the math, it would be more carded. But the boxes gave you much nicer art. And so I always love, you know, we were talking about one day, then the guy said to me, you think we should do boxes? I'm like, yes!
There you go.
Because what fans love is the artwork
Right.
for the character.
Yeah, yep,
Yeah.
true. But hey, thank you guys. I want to thank everybody out in the crowd for coming out to see us, fighting the crowd to come up here. So thank you, we appreciate that. I want to say thank you to everybody out there on Facebook watching us on the Ambassador page. And if you guys don't already, please make sure you follow Mego Corp on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Mego Corp, Mego Ambassadors on Facebook. You can find Dr. Mego at drmego.com as well. Myself, Frank Wojo, you can find me on absoluteretro.com, also on Instagram and Twitter. But thank you guys. We appreciate you coming out. Make mine Mego.